Hello, welcome back to the Everything is Black and White podcast. It's time for the match preview with me, Andrew Musgrove, and I'm joined by John Gibson as we look ahead to the visit of Leeds United to St James's Park on Wednesday. The games are coming thick and fast, but Newcastle United go into a busy schedule on the back of some really important wins. They beat Crystal Palace 2-0 up at St James's Park on Sunday, and that sends them into a tough game against Leeds in fine spirits. John, welcome back to the show. How are you keeping? You well?
I'm well. It was my birthday on Sunday, and I watched Newcastle win, which was in some ways the perfect present. So I'm feeling good.
Fantastic. Well, I hope you had a lovely day and happy 21st.
Well, actually, that's a couple of years' time. I'm only 18 at the moment, but that's mentally, of course.
It was a good result for Newcastle
Yeah.
against Crystal Palace. Myself and Mark Withers have done the Monday show to do head back and watch or listen to that if you want a bit more of an in-depth analysis. But I'll just get John's initial view on it and how it sets them up nicely for Wednesday against Leeds.
Yes, it does. I mean, the display was patchy to a certain extent, but at this given moment in time, the most important things to Newcastle United are the results rather than the performance. Yes, in an ideal world, both go together, but the results are the most important thing of the lot. I mean, it was freezing cold, and I was sweating a little bit when we got as far as the 70th minute without a breakthrough. But dear old Bruno, our Captain Marvel, came to the rescue. And it's now 3 Premier League wins on the trot, having won a one away from home. So, that's good. Let's keep going. We've got to make hay while the sun shines, because we're at the end of this run of 6 games at home out of 7. We've got 3 very tough away games. We're away to Paris Saint-Germain, we're away to Liverpool, and we're away to Man City. And that's the European champions, the Premier League champions, and the habitual winners of all sorts of titles, City. And by the way, the last of the home games is Villa, so it's a tough old run, that. So let's make hay while the sun shines, and that means going out and getting 3 points against Leeds.
Yeah, we said in the preview that it was so important to set the tone with the win and hopefully a good performance. And I do feel like the performance against Palace was the best it's been in patches and glimpses than that we've seen over the last few weeks. I mean, do you feel like they set the right tone, John, going into all these home games that are coming up?
Yeah, I think they have. There's always room for improvement. We're always looking for improvement, but let's be grateful for what we've got. There was some outstanding performances against Palace, I felt. I mean, Miley is just come of age. He's just a nonsense. I mean, he plays in any position and he plays brilliantly. Bruno's Bruno. In the man, when you need a man of the moment, he's it. 7 goals this season so far. Chow, the other goal scorer, is just absolute class. I mean, he's the classiest guy on the field in terms of all-round ability. Joe Linton, I felt, has got back to pretty close to his best. There were dips. I thought by his very high standards, Hall was very iffy in the game, and he's normally top rate, so I'm not worried about him. But Murphy wasn't good. Murphy gave the ball away an awful lot. And for what it's worth, I do think that is a problem position for Newcastle now outside right. They haven't been able to nail it on at all. I mean, Murphy hasn't risen to the heights that he reached last season, which was his best season with us, and he's been with us quite a while. He hasn't reached that, possibly because he hasn't started automatically every game. The man that was supposed to be an upgrade, Elanga, is certainly not. And so, what do we do with that position against Leeds? I mean, he has a hamstring problem. He's probably not going to be fit. And Elanga's probably not going to be fit as well. Outside right is a problem for us, unexpectedly so, because we were strong on the wings last season when Murphy was doing well and Gordon was doing well. If Murphy's not going to make it and Elanga's not going to make it on Wednesday night, then we're looking at Gordon and Bonds. And if we are, I hope he does them the right way around, which is leave Bonds at outside left because he looked terrific there, and he cuts in, and he's a great finisher, and he's a natural finisher coming on his wrong foot and finishing from the left hand side. Gordon's the iffy performer. Let him work on the other side for a change rather than make it Bonds. So if Murphy doesn't make it, I would play Gordon outside right and Bonds outside left.
Yeah, let us know in the comments your thoughts on the wingers. That's what I would do, John. I think regardless if Murphy's fit or if Elanga manages to somehow come back in time, Harvey Barnes for me starts out on the left. It just has to happen, really, because Gordon's just not doing it for me. I know he scored a few penalties, and yes, he had a good afternoon or good first half against Chelsea. Obviously he had the goal disallowed against Palace, and there was a few moments against Burnley, but I think you can't look past what Harvey Barnes has done this season, what he continues to do. And he's not even at his best. He's just better than the rest. So start him out on the left. And if it needs to happen, then Gordon out on the right and say, come on, go and prove yourself. Interestingly, and I mean, it's just a passing thought, but I was watching Brennan Johnson yesterday, 18 goals last season for Spurs, £35 million he's cost Crystal Palace in this transfer window. And okay, he didn't score, but I thought he looked threatening. He was making all the right runs. And I was just thinking, I wonder if Eddie Howe or the transfer team had a crystal ball and could have seen in the future that Brennan Johnson was going to be available for £35 million, would they maybe think again?
Well, he was a lot cheaper than Elanga was, wasn't he? And he scores a lot more goals than Elanga. Elanga's never had an 18-goal season and is never likely to have one because he's a finisher in the, I was going to say in the Anthony Gordon class, but perhaps even less so. So it's an interesting thought that, of course, now the horse is bolted, hasn't it? I mean, Newcastle aren't likely to buy any outside right at the moment. Having gone for an upgrade with Elanga, they'll persevere trying to make Elanga into a top quality outside right, and they will buy for other positions, and rightly so. But I just feel outside right has remained a problem. I'm not suggesting it's solved in the transfer market, because you're not going to do that, having just spent 55 million for Elanga and only had him for half a season. But it is a problem position, I'm afraid.
You talked about Lewis Miley having a great performance. He was my man of the match against Crystal Palace. And that makes that right back team selection so interesting against Leeds United, because we saw Tino Livramento come off the bench. Will he potentially start at right back? You also have Kieran Trippier as well. It doesn't look like Lewis Hall went off injured. He went off just maybe because things weren't working for him, and he's still building up his fitness. So he's likely to start at left back. So then the question is, can Eddie Howe really drop Lewis Miley from right back, even if Tino Livramento and Kieran Trippier are deemed fit enough to be involved?
Of course not. I mean, if he didn't play him at right back, he'd be forced to play him in the mid three, because you can't drop him. To drop him would be an absolute nonsense, and we haven't got enough players playing at the height of their ability at the moment, and he is. So no, I mean, I don't think you should dream of playing anybody by him. It right back against Leeds, and isn't that the ultimate compliment you can pay him when Livramento's fit? To say that, goodness gracious me, that is a compliment. I mean, if you were going to start Livramento on the team, you could start him at left back and say we've got to handle Hall a bit delicately, because he's been trying to do that recently because of the injuries he's had, and perhaps a combination of him hitting a brick wall performance-wise, and he's been absolutely outstanding recently, by the way. There's Livramento to cover there. There's even the theory, because he's so good at going forward, that if neither make it, you don't want to play Gordon at outside right. You could play Livramento there. I think he has played that position once for us in the past. But yes, Livramento's easing back in. I don't think there's any great panic to get him back in. He's a super player. But Miley, wherever he plays, has got to be the first name on the team sheet at the moment, because he's just absolutely a different class. And you've got to encourage the boy, not knock him back by giving him the disappointment of playing one of the best games he's played and then being out the next game.
Yeah, I think he'll start no matter what. It's just a question of when. I think it probably will be right back. Although the midfield three, Bruno and Joelinton, had really good outings against Crystal Palace. Sam Tonali still looking for that consistent run of games where he's shown his best self, and it wasn't on Sunday against Crystal Palace. And I do wonder whether a change in the middle might come, or do you think Eddie Howe will just persevere with that midfield three and just hope that Wednesday is the day that it clicks with Sandro Tonali?
Well, he loves. He's a loyal guy, is our Eddie, and he loves those three by reputation. And I've got a feeling he'll give them another go. But I mean, if Miley was going to go into midfield, the best position he plays is centre anchor, which is Tonali's role. So I mean, if you wanted to bring Livramento in, you would play Miley in that role and give Sandro a rest. But I've got a feeling that he's loyal and he loves those three, and they're the big name reputations. And it's easier to leave those three alone, go with Miley right back, where he's been absolutely outstanding and gets on his bike down that right-hand side to huge effect. I mean, the way he cut the ball back for the decisive breakthrough goal was wonderful. And I think he'll go for that. Miley will play right back and he'll leave the three. But you could easily play Livramento and play Miley as the centre of the three. But I think he'll stay with them.
It's going to be interesting to see how Newcastle line up. And the other big question, of course, John, is up top. Our listeners and viewers will know how much I raved about Johan Wissa's performance with Mark on the Monday show. And you can do so too if you want to, John. But for me, he's got to start on Wednesday. If he's fit enough, Eddie Howe has to start Johan Wissa, because I just think Newcastle looks such a better side with him in it.
That's the big if, isn't it? Whether how fit Eddie thinks he is, not how fit the boy thinks he is, how fit we think he is, but how fit Eddie thinks he is. Because the one thing we do know is that it'll be like for like. He won't play the two of them together. He's virtually dismissed that in public already now, which will confuse and baffle and might irritate one or two fans, because we paid 124 million for the pair of them, but they can't play together. Well, I'm not certain it would go down well. And will he continue to want a 69 million pound striker that you bought for a club record fee sitting on the bench? But I'm with you. I mean, I love the Newcastle forward line that much better with Wissa playing centre forward, because he plays it in the Newcastle United way. And by that, I mean the way the rest of the team is set up to play with a high press and to play with pace. And their two assets, what Voldemort hasn't got. He's not good at the high press and he hasn't got pace. But at some stage, he's going to come in and the other guy's going to go out, whether it's Leeds or whether it's Bournemouth, just for starting the matches, I mean. And perhaps it's at the stage where he wants to put Wiltmore in. But I wouldn't hesitate to go with Wissa unless he was struggling. And I think he needs game time as well. And the only way to get him up to strength is to give him those game times. And so I would love to see him start, and I hope he starts. But we know dear old Eddie, he might just go with Voldemort on the law of averages. It's his turn. Who knows?
Let us know in the comments your thoughts on any of the selection dilemmas that Eddie Howe has got. Positive selection dilemmas as well, which is the key thing. And we haven't been able to say that in a wee while. A reminder, this episode is sponsored by fpro.com, the trainer mat which can enhance your football skills, focus, concentration. It essentially will make, or hopefully make, your budding footballers in the household better footballers. We've got up to 60% off by heading to fpro.com/EIBW20. It's a mat that can fit in pretty much any household, kitchen, living room, bedroom. It can even be used outside, and is linked to an app which has got training drills built by UEFA coaches. And also a special thanks to NordVPN, our other sponsors of the Everything's Black and White podcast. And we've got an exclusive offer on your NordVPN plan, one subscription, 10 devices, so you can protect any new electronics you got for Christmas by clicking the link in the podcast description box. No risk, with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Thanks to both of those for their support. John, when you look at the league table, and it's really, really tight, Newcastle on 9th, a win would take them up to 31 points. And if others don't win this week, full round of Premier League fixtures, Newcastle could be sitting fifth. I mean, that's probably unlikely given how tight it is. But the point being, with it being so tight, you just got to keep winning and winning and winning, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because we've been using the famous phrase, you're playing catch up, and they are catching up now, but we haven't totally caught up to where we want to be. I mean, one of the wonderful things for me, and I have paid grudging respect and huge respect to Sunderland for the way they've gone about things this season. But there's only 1 point between us now, and if we beat Leeds and they don't win at Brentford, we go above them at long last, which would be rather interesting and which would be rather nice, them having taken 3 points off us. I mean, the interesting thing for me, Andrew, is that in the summer, we, the Royal We being the rest of the country, football fans, were suggesting that the three that come up would go straight back down, which is Sunderland, Leeds and Burnley. Now, Sunderland were the first to break ranks and bulk at that sort of suggestion and come flying out the traps and have done exceptionally well. But also, suddenly, Leeds look as if they're making a bit of a fist of not going straight back down. They're 7 unbeaten now, which is the best run since 2001, and they're 8 points above the relegation situation. So you can see Leeds avoiding the drop, and you can't see Sunderland avoiding the drop, which would only leave Burnley, of the three sides that come up, they'd look pretty certain to go down, probably with Wolves, which is, despite Wolves winning at the weekend for the first time, and somebody like West Ham, I guess, but 2 new sides to go down, that would be interesting. But Leeds are on a bit of a run, and we must make certain that we nip that smartly in the bud at this game and don't see it as an obstacle, but see it as an opportunity, because that's exactly what it is.
It's going to be a real tough test, like you say, on an unbeaten run of 7 games, and they've looked a threat against some real top sides. Liverpool for one, and it's going to be a tough evening. So Newcastle can't underestimate Leeds, but at the same time, we can't show them too much respect, because there's a job to be done. As good as Leeds are looking at the moment, they're not looking like European contenders in terms of finishing in the top 7 or 8. So Newcastle go and do the job, because on paper Newcastle should be winning this game at St James's Park.
No doubt about that whatsoever. I mean, I've just paid tribute to Leeds and Sunderland for what they've done on coming up. But I mean, Leeds aren't going to make the Champions League or any of the other 2 European competitions this season. Newcastle are currently a Champions League side, so we cannot bull up the opposition we face and use the wonderful phrase every single manager I know uses, which is, this is a tough match. And this is a tough match, actually, but let's not get carried away. Let's not get twitchy. Let's not get afraid. It's a match Newcastle should win at St James's Park. And they've got to go on and make that point to them because of what is to come eventually. And they've got some good players. I mean, the interesting thing is Calvert-Lewin, who we could have easily signed and thought about signing, and I was horrified because, having just got rid of Callum Wilson, I didn't want another potential clock arriving at St James's Park. But having scored only 1 in his first 10 Premier League games for Leeds, he's now scored 7 in his last 7. And the last one he got, which was the goal at Sunderland up here in the northeast, where he's coming back to, was a real centre-forwards finish at a time when Leeds were actually pulverising Sunderland. It only ended 1-1, but they were actually out battering Sunderland at the time. And he scored a very good goal. What I am a bit sad about, Andrew, is that I would like Sean Longstaff to have played, because he did such a wonderful job for us, a local lad who loved the club to bits, did a brilliant job for us, scored in wonderful moments like Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League, etc. I would like them to have played and got a terrific reception from an appreciative crowd, because I'm certain he would have got that. Then I wanted his backside tanned. Of course I did, because I'm a Newcastle United fan. But he did great for us, and it would have been nice to see him in the Leeds side.
Yeah, he started all right at Allen Road since his move, but he hasn't featured in recent weeks. Just having a quick look back at some of the starting lineups here. But you mentioned Calvert-Lewin there. I think what's going to be interesting is to see how Newcastle's defence handle that, because he's a striker that really drags your defence back because he likes to be in and around the box. So it's going to be an interesting battle for Malik Chow and Fabian Chen. And look, Leeds have got some dangerous players elsewhere. I think Ampadu is a really good player. That's their captain in the midfield. And you've got a few others that Newcastle will have to look out for. But again, on paper, without showing too much disrespect to Leeds United, this is a game Newcastle should be targeting to win. And given their form at home, should be winning. And it's absolutely crucial that they do to keep that momentum going. John, then, how is it going to go? What's it going to? Are we
good question? And I'm not one of these guys that say, if you say that Newcastle are going to beat some team, I don't think you're disrespecting that team. You're just trying to be honest that they ought to. You've still got to show them the utmost respect. You still feel the utmost respect for them. But it's not a sin to say that Newcastle will beat a side in the Premier League. We finished 5th top last season. They should beat a lot of sides in the Premier League. But there seems to be this obsession, and with some fans, don't disrespect them. You're not disrespecting them. You're being honest. You asked for your opinion, and you give your opinion. You've just asked for my opinion on the game for Wednesday, and I think Newcastle will win. I think they have to win, because if we don't win, if we draw, or heaven forbid lost, we would be stuttering then and hitting a brick wall, because we're still making up ground, and we can make up a lot more ground by getting 3 points in this particular game and jumping above some other sides. And we ought to be capable of beating this side, and I think we are capable of beating this side. And I don't think we'll underestimate them, because we're not in a position to do that. We're in a position where we're still not where we want to be in the league. And to get there, we've got to go out with ruthless determination and get a job done. And I think we will. I was delighted that we won 2-0, because that was my forecast on here anyway, that we would win 2-0. And I was rather anxious that we kept our first clean sheet in about 13 games, I think, something of that nature. I'm not going to forecast we're going to have another clean sheet, because with Newcastle, that's asking an awful lot, because they don't do clean sheets too much. So if I'm forced to give a score prediction, and as long as they win, I will be happy regardless of what the score is, but I would go for 2-1.
I'll take 2-1. I'll take 1-0. I don't really care. I think Newcastle will win. Part of me wants to predict that this is the game that kind of clicks for them. I feel like Newcastle United are building up to that. Again, Palace, we saw in glimpses of what they can do, some really good flowing moves. I thought even against Burnley there was some moments like that as well, and again Chelsea first off. So it seems like we're building up to something. Now Leeds are going to be full of confidence. They're on that unbeaten run. They've held and tested teams that some would say are better than Newcastle, both on form and on paper. So, again, not to underestimate Leeds whatsoever. I think it'll be a win. If I'm going with my heart, I'm predicting 3 or 4 goals to Newcastle, but I'm going to be sensible, John, because I know you're going to say, goodness me, calm down, young man. I'm going to go for a win. I'll take it. Do you know what? We'll give them another clean sheet, I think the chances that Leeds will have won't be too many. So I'll go 1-0 win for Newcastle on Wednesday.
I was going to say that'll do for me. A win's a win's a win. I mean, I wouldn't want it to be 4-3, because I wouldn't want to let 3 goals in at home. That would shake a little bit of confidence. But let's get our win, and then let's go out against Bournemouth with the start of the FA Cup, with the wonderful tradition we have in the FA Cup, and let us remain in 4 competitions this season by winning there as well. And this all helps to build up the real feeling and head of steam that Newcastle United need, having spent the first half of the season, the last half of 2025, going up and down like a fiddler's elbow. We want more consistency now, and this can be the start of that consistency, because it started with an away victory. That is the platform to have gone to Burnley and win. That's the platform you need. You need away results, then you cash in at home. And I'm looking forward to cash in again on Wednesday night.
Fingers crossed they do so and keep that fantastic form at home going as well. And Newcastle move further up the table. But saying that, results, even if they get the right result and others win as well, they could, I don't know, probably remain in the same position. It's that tight, but who knows? I haven't done the maths and permutations. But all we need to do is see Newcastle United get another victory and kick on into January as well, with a busy schedule to come. Cheers to John for providing the match preview. We'll be back later in the week to look ahead to Bournemouth in the FA Cup.
Bournemouth in the FA Cup.
Goodness me, it's all rolling into one, isn't it, John?
It is. It is.
But I look forward to speaking to you then. Enjoy the game, and to you guys watching, listen, do get into the comments and let us know your thoughts on anything that we've spoken about today. Enjoy the show, and we'll see you guys very soon.